Sunday Night Baseball Game of the Week. Tonight, the Milwaukee Brewers, led by John Jaha with 23 homers, take on the Oakland Athletics and Major League home run leader Mark McGwire. It's the ESPN Sunday Night Baseball Game of the Week. A beautiful night for baseball here on the shores of the San Francisco Bay from the Oakland Coliseum. The Athletics and the Brewers in right now in the West. Oakland, surprisingly, hanging in there, only 6.5 out, although this is still a rebuilding year for them. And in the wild card race, Oakland shows up there as well, as do the Milwaukee Brewers, despite their big trade earlier this week, sending Greg Vaughn away. Hello, everyone. I'm John Miller. Welcome to our telecast. It couldn't be nicer out here in Oakland. A great night for a ball game. The crowd is gathering here at the new footballized Oakland Coliseum. They're getting ready for the Raiders out here. Meanwhile, we've got Mark McGwire having this sensational year when he's been healthy. 38 home runs, even though he's only played in 82 games so far this year. McGwire hits the long ball, and he's back in the lineup now. And Fez had to get out early just to watch McGwire take batting practice. It's quite a show all by itself. And my partner, Joe Morgan, was down there himself after BP.
We're used to seeing big home run numbers from you, but now your ball club is chasing a home run record. How do you account for this?
Well, a lot of guys have good swings on this club, and they don't try to overswing. They have nice, easy swings, and if you get a good pitch to hit. Lately, it's been a little less to it, and the ball's been leaving the ballpark. I think I'm playing on a lot more powerful teams, especially looking-wise, in the heyday of when I first broke in. But I'll tell you what, we got some guys know how to swing the bat.
Well, this is a hypothetical question, but if you could play 162 games injury-free, just give me a number. Give me a number. Jeez. Give me an area. Give me a range.
No, I don't like doing that. I'll let you do it. But I would love to play 162. You know, I've been dealt with some things and I have to deal with them, but I'll tell you what, I'm a stronger person because of it.
All right. So, Joe, then you give us a number. How many would he hit if he played the whole year?
Well, I think he'd probably average over 50, and he would probably come close to Roger Maris's record every year. I don't want to say he'd break it, but he'd come close.
All right. Now, McGwire's got a few other sluggers around him. This young Oakland ball club, loaded with hitters. They are 60 home runs away from the all-time team home run record. They got 51 games left to try and beat the 61 Yankees. Now, the Milwaukee Brewers, also a ball club that has been hitting real well. Even though they lost Greg Vaughn earlier this week, the Brewers continue to put runs on the board, Joe.
Well, they have a very good offensive ball club. They're very aggressive, first and foremost. They run the bases well, they hit and run, and they have some guys that can swing the bat. Dave Nilsson, Jeff Cirillo. People are still waiting for him to come back to earth, but he's been swinging the bat well. Also, John Jaha. That's my favorite.
Jaha, and he's got 23 home runs for the Brewers. Brewers and Athletics from Oakland. The ESPN Sunday Night Baseball Game of the Week is brought to you by Foot Locker. Foot Locker, where it all begins. Coming up, it's Mark McGwire. Back in April, he put one on the roof in Detroit. On a Sunday night game in June, he hit one 475 feet at the Metrodome. Then, last week, he went 470 feet right over the bleachers at Comiskey Park. A day later at the Sky Dome, he hit one into the 5th deck, the longest ever hit there. Now, it's McGwire and the Athletics taking on the Brewers on the ESPN Sunday Night Game of the Week.
I heard he took you. Yeah, he just kept
Here in the big leagues, right here with the old Athletics with Reggie Jackson and Joe Rudy and Sal Bando. Sal Bando is now his general manager. And you see the Gardeners Ball Club, the Brewers, they don't have the big names in that lineup, but they are scoring a lot of runs. Third in the majors in runs per game. Pat Listash leads off in center field. He's a speedster. Fernando Vina at second base. Jeff Cirillo, not a big name, but he's got a big average. Dave Nilsson from Australia in right field. And Nilsson has just had a powerful season for the Brewers. Kevin Seitzer, the veteran at first. John Jaha with 23 homers, the DH. Mark Newfield, one of the acquisitions in the Greg Vaughn deal with San Diego, is in left field. Mark Loretta in place of the injured Jose Valentin at short. And Jesse Levis is the catcher hitting ninth. Now that's your GMC Sierra starting lineup for Milwaukee against this guy. And that's Dave Telgater, one-time New York Met. He is now 29 years of age. And Telgater trying to make this Oakland staff, Joe, making his 5th start of the year.
Well, they say he could have won all 4 of his starts, but he's a guy that also, it's like most of the pitchers they've run through this year, they're auditioning for the future, and they're going to find out who they think they're going to build around.
So he's ready to go now. Tailgater to Pat Listash. And the first pitch is called a strike.
He doesn't throw that hard, but he has a fork ball, an overhand curve ball, and he'll throw a cutter every once in a while.
Listash had an outstanding rookie year for the Brewers. Been trying to live up to that ever since. That one almost hit him. And the count, 1 ball and 1 strike to Pat Listash. Now, the Brewers, without Greg Vaughn in particular, don't have much power. So they need guys like Listash and Vigna to get on base and make things happen out there. They try to force the action. And Listash is on. Base hit to center field, out of the reach of both Tailgater and the shortstop, Bordick.
And let's take a look at the defense. That ball got away from Bordick, but not many do. Bordick, one of the best defensive shortstops in the major leagues. And there you see that he leads in fielding, and this was a play he made yesterday in the hole. Nice play, and he gets up very quickly, strong arm, and retires the runner. He does not let many get through the hole on the right side, on the left side.
Now here is Fernando Vigna, V-I-N-A, with a tilde over the N. 295 average, 5 homers, 36 batted in. Like him to use his bat control in spots like this. They like to hit and run a lot. Even wouldn't be surprised to see him put a bunt down. He's only struck out 21 times in 370 at-bats.
Well, I just wanted to ask you, though, is that a capital tilde or is that a small tilde?
Well, it's over the end, so it's a small tilde.
Okay.
Joe Morgan, tilde aficionado. And nice to have you back, by the way.
Yeah, it's great to be back.
I missed you last week when I was in Pittsburgh, and you were in Maui.
Well, Pittsburgh, you know, I love Pittsburgh.
Yeah, especially when you're in Maui. 0-2 the count to Vigna. Fernando Vigna, you know the young guys. That Phil Garner given a shot to the last couple of years and starting to develop into a very fine player. Picked up nicely by McGuire. There's one. Bordick back. The Tailgater double play.
And the A's lead the majors in double plays. I mean, they can turn them. And that was an excellent play. One of the most difficult double plays to make is 3 to 6 to 1. Very difficult play. And his first starts with a nice pickup here by McGuire. Watch, he gets it on the short hop, and he goes right over the top of Listash. Bordick back to first base. Tailgater does a good job of getting over there. And it's a double play.
And that's not what Phil Garner had in mind for Fernando Vigna. He's supposed to move that runner over, make things happen. It looked like he tried to exploit that open hole on the right side, but McGuire was able to get to it. Now, here is Jeff Cirillo, and there you see what we were talking about when we mentioned the big batting average, 333. A lot of names who are not well known in this Milwaukee ball club, but you'll see that they have a lot of guys who can hit. Now, they don't have a McGuire. Nobody's threatening a home run record. They don't have an Albert Bell. Nobody's threatening driving 150 runs. But up and down the lineup, they got lots of guys who can hit right around 300 or better.
But I think it'll be interesting to see, John, without the big bat Vaughn in the middle of that lineup, see how they respond without him there. See if they continue to put up these good numbers, or see if some of them even start to press a little bit, trying to make up for that loss of zone.
On the outside corner, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, for sure, I mean, now here's Cirillo. He's hitting third. He's got the big average, but only 7 home runs. And
used to having Vaughn behind him.
Yeah, and Dave Nilsson, who's hitting cleanup, also having a very big year, but not a big power hitter. Well, that's another base hit. That's really more of the Brewers' game. Singles, doubles, and they have enough 300 hitters to put together rallies without the long ball. Well, now Dave Nilsson comes up.
Number 14, Dave.
Now, last year,
Right field.
the Brewers had a lot of injury problems, and they missed Dave Nilsson for almost half the year. And, Joe, you talk about exotic illnesses. Last year, he was on the disabled list with Ross River fever, a disease he contracted when he was bitten by a mosquito in Australia. And from the way he described it, Joe, don't let that Ross River guy get you, man. That put him on the shelf for a long while. Ball 1 to Dave Nilsson. Now, this guy showing that baseball down under is certainly beginning to produce some talent, because this guy is hitting .358. He's a big, strong guy, too. 6 feet 3 inches tall. And you see each year his batting average has gone up. I think that he will be a guy who can hit some home runs eventually. He has 13 this year, and he's only had 257 at bats. Cirillo at first, 2 down. Into left center field. That's into the alleyway. That one will go to the wall. Cirillo heading for third. The ball is dug out by Giambi. Relayed into Bordick, but coming in to score is Cirillo on a double by Nilsson. 1-0, Milwaukee.
Well, this is the reason that he doesn't hit a lot of home runs. I mean, he hits the ball where it's pitched. He finds the gap. He'll use the left center field alley, and you're not going to hit a lot of home runs hitting the ball the other way. This pitch is out over the plate. See, it starts to move away, and he just slices it that way, and he finds a gap in left center field. And Cirillo comes all the way around to score. So that double play that the A's turned is very important at this point.
Well, already we're seeing what the Brewers do well. This is the Brewers' offense now without Greg Vaughn in there. Remember, Vaughn had 31 homers and 95 RBI. He was the big man in the middle of all of these 300 hitters, line drive type hitters. That curveball is called a strike to Kevin Seitzer, veteran. And Seitzer is hitting .329. 11 homers and 55 batted in.
Seitzer's a proven hitter, though, John. He's been hitting well for his entire career.
And that's a ball. Seitzer played out here in Oakland for a while. But it's interesting. Seitzer every year seems to become a free agent, and then nobody wants him.
That's, again, because he doesn't hit a lot of home runs, doesn't hit, with a lot of power, although he has 11 home runs this year. But
pops him up on the right side. Second baseman, Bornegal, shading his eyes, and that ends the inning. Seitzer pops out. The Brewers get a run and 3 hits. Milwaukee 1, Oakland coming up when we get at times, particularly when they're hitting a long ball, and they have hit more home runs than any other team in the major leagues. Here's the GMC Sierra starting lineup for the Oakland Athletics. Rafael Bornegal at second base. Scott Brocious back in the lineup, and what a year he's having. A great young talent. Jason Giambi in left field, and this too is a big young talent. Mark McGwire playing his 3rd game back after having some injury problems. 33 homers in his last 60 games. It'll be Geronimo Berroa, the designated hitter, and he's having a big year. Steinbach having his best year is the catcher. Matt Stayers in right field. Ernie Young, and Ernie, first-year guy, got 15 home runs, and Mike Bordick, the steady shortstop, is hitting 9th. On the mound for Milwaukee, trying to find a place. He's doing with the Brewers what Tailgate is doing for Oakland. He's kind of auditioning for a spot in this rotation.
Yeah, and he's like Tailgater, not overpowering with the fastball, but he throws a little sinker, slider, moves the ball around, will pitch inside.
Van Egmond, formerly with the Boston Red Sox organization. And Joe, you and I have previously televised Van Egmond on Sunday Night Baseball, but it was not in a big league game.
Our legendary trip down to Scranton, right?
Scranton, that's right.
Yeah, I remember that.
Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, and they played Pawtucket, and he pitched for Pawtucket that night. Very nice ballpark there. Bornegal with a foul tip. 0-2 the count. Brocious is on deck. Now, Oakland has been struggling. About the time McGwire went down a week ago, that's when the Athletics started to have problems. They've lost 6 of their last 7, and they're not hitting. The shortstop, this is Mark Loretta, and Bornegal is out number 1.
And let's take a look at the Milwaukee defense. As you mentioned, Fernando Vina has become one of the better second basemen in the league. In fact, by a vote of the managers in the league, he's the 3rd best defensive second baseman in the league, behind Roberto Alomar and Chuck Knobloch. So he's in pretty good company there.
Now here is Scott Brocious. 336 is his batting average, although he has played in only 63 games. And Loretta gets this one, follows it, grabs it out of midair, too high and wide with the throw, and Brocious is there. That ball had a mind of its own.
A lot of times as an infielder, when you bobble the ball like that, you still do it in rhythm, and it doesn't hurt you on the throw to first base. Now watch. He will still do this in rhythm. He reaches out, bobbles it. He's still moving. He's still ready to throw. Takes his crow hop, and he just throws high. If he gets the ball down, I think he still gets it. But watch, he doesn't lose anything here. You're going to take one extra step anyway. He's ready. He throws, but he just threw it high to first base. And Brocious was safe.
I like how he bounced it off the side of his head there before he grabbed it. They give Brocious a base hit on that one. Now here is Jason Giambi. Now this guy is big and strong, and he is just having an excellent year. His first full year in the big league. It's ball one. By the way, Loretta is at shortstop for the Brewers rather than Jose Valentin. He got hit in the finger by a pitch yesterday, and also has been plagued with a sore shoulder. So Loretta, a rookie, is in there for Valentin. And we're sorry about that. Not because Loretta, we're always happy to see him out there, but Valentin is having a great year. And caught out there by Listash. So 2 men are gone. Giambi really hit it hard, but Listash is able to haul it in, and that brings up Mark McGwire.
Mark McGwire, first base.
Now, with McGwire, look at that slugging percentage. Only Babe Ruth has had a year in the history of Major League Baseball where he finished a full season with a slugging percentage of over 800. Out of the park mark, and yeah, he knows how to do that. Everybody kept talking about McGwire's home run per at-bat ratio, Joe, and I think he was hitting him so frequently, it was more like a home run per game ratio. One every game. Ball one to McGwire, and they've been working in that way in this series. He had a couple of hits Friday, hitless yesterday, but they were throwing a lot of hard stuff in.
Well, you have to pitch him in and then try to get him to chase sliders away.
Three infielders play to the left side of the infield as McGwire swings and doesn't get it. Only Seitzer remains on the right side.
And that's the way to pitch him. They throw him a fastball in and then throw him a breaking ball away, and you'll see that pattern repeated throughout this ball game. And there's a good breaking ball down and away.
Second baseman Bina is over on the shortstop side of second base.
Back inside. Interesting. But tell you what, McGwire knows how they're pitching, and if they fool around and get one of those inside pitches about 6 inches over the plate, he's going to lose it for him, or if one of those breaking balls do not find the outside corner.
You see the Babe's two best slugging years. He's the only one ever to have had a slugging average of over 800. Well, right there in the hole is Loretta, the second one, and that's the final out of the inning with the second baseman Bina back over to cover. So Oakland gets one hit, but the Brewers are leading 1-0. Jaha coming up. Sunday Night Baseball from Oakland, California. John Miller, Joe Morgan, each
Designated hitter.
of which grew up in this area.
You're right.
Joe, welcome home.
Thank you. Same to you, John. I still live here. I didn't leave.
I left? Oh, no. Here's John Jaha. And Jaha starting to put up the big numbers that they were hoping that he would eventually. He's got 23 home runs, and he takes a strike from Telgater. Jaha, spells his name J-A-H-A. Got 23 homers and 78 runs batted in, so he's got legitimate power credentials for the season in a little over 2/3 of a year. The question is, perhaps even more, Joe, for him than anybody else, since he is a power hitter, how much is he going to miss the presence of a Greg Vaughn? They don't have much in the way of big power sluggers other than Jaha now.
Right. A lot of times guys try to pick up the slack and they just overswing a little bit. These guys are having such good years, I certainly hope that does not happen to them.
That breaking ball is in there for a strike.
There's a very good overhand breaking ball. As you can see, that ball almost goes straight down. And he also throws a fork ball every once in a while.
Oh, powered the fastball past him. And John Jaha, he is gone.
That was set up by the breaking ball because that was only an 81-mile-an-hour fastball. But if you follow a 73-mile-an-hour curveball, you can get away with that. That ball was also in the middle of the plate, not where he wanted to throw it, but because he had changed speeds the pitch before, he was able to get away with that pitch.
I like it whenever you say guys only got an 81-mile-an-hour fastball, you start putting your batting gloves on. Looks like I retired a little bit too soon.
For 81 miles an hour, you might be right.
0-1 to Mark Newfield, former Padre. This is his third organization now. He's been with Seattle, then San Diego. Last year, he was part of the trade when Andy Bennis went to Seattle. And now this year, part of the trade when Greg Vaughn goes to San Diego. So he's been part of some big-name trades, so they must think highly of him. But on the other hand, he's never put it all together at the big league level yet. There's what he hit with San Diego, 251 with 5 home runs. Got off to a fairly good start there. And then really tailed off. Down the right field line foul. In fact, when he started playing much more often when Tony Gwynn got hurt, that's when the numbers started to tail off. But this guy's big and strong. And they're going to give him a long look out there in left field for the rest of this year.
But a lot of people feel that he only needs a chance to play on an everyday basis so he can get some experience.
Here's that forkball, and Newfield is down on strikes. The tag out made by the catcher Steinbach. 2 down.
The curveball comes straight over the top and breaks down. And here we'll get a look at his forkball. And you can see the rotation or lack of rotation there, and it just tumbles and sinks. Not a lot of rotation on the forkball.
2 down. Here is Mark Loretta. 292. 1089 at bats. 1-0. Milwaukee ahead. Second inning is that curveball. Well, he looks pretty good in this inning, doesn't he?
Well, he looks good, John, because he has great control of the curveball. If you have good control of that breaking ball, the hitters can never sit on one pitch, and he can get away with not having an overpowering fastball.
Loretta base hit into right field.
Good hitting there. He just took it, breaking ball away, and slapped it to left right field for a base hit.
Well, Loretta will turn 25 in 10 days. He's from California.
Well, I like a little breaking ball over the outside, and he just goes the other way. You can see he keeps his head right there. Watch his head. Stays right there. Doesn't pull off and lines it to right field for a base hit.
Now, see if this fits with the way you just saw him hit, Joe. In his 90 at-bats, he's got 27 hits. That's pretty good, over 298. 26 of them are singles.
That'll work. The infielders can get away with that, especially middle infielders. If they have a good glove to go along with all those singles.
Well, and they better hit 300, I mean.
Yeah, good glove.
They hit 300 and they're all singles. That's one thing. Here is Jesse Levis. Started to call him Scott Leis. Former Twin and former Cleveland Indian.
Former World Series hero.
And, of course, Jesse Levis is also a former Cleveland Indian. Levis and Mike Matheny have been doing the catching with the Brewers. It looks like Dave Nelson's catching days are over. Down the left field line. Foul. Ball and a strike to Jesse Levis. L-E-V-I-S. And that's an ironic name in this ballpark, Joe, because up until this year, the Oakland Athletics were owned by the people from Levi Strauss. Right. People who wear Levi's. Right. I mean, this guy would have been a natural for them in those days, wouldn't he? L-E-V-I-S. They would have probably given him a bonus to change the pronunciation of that name. Jesse Levi's. And that's a ball. 2-1. See, I'm starting to think like a marketing guy now. After all the Olympics, you know, I'm like thinking to put these things together. Sell. That's what I'm trying to do, Joe. Sell. And that's a foul ball. We've got 2 down here in the second inning. Loretta at first base. He has not stolen a base, nor has he attempted to this year. And Jesse Levis at the plate. Now, Levis has had 119 at-bats. And this guy is, Joe, another one of these Brewers who makes contact. He's only struck out 5 times. But he's walked 18 times with only 5 strikeouts. Sometimes those guys, when they're not too fast, those always make contact guys,
yes,
hit a lot of double play balls.
Yes, you're right. I mean, the statistics can really say what you want them to say. You can say he puts the ball in play, but like you said, if he doesn't run well and hits a lot of singles, a lot of those ground balls are going to turn into double plays.
That is just foul. That wasn't fouled by much.
John, did I ever tell you why I like this job so much?
Well, tell me again.
All right, well, going down on the field today, I had a chance to talk to Mark McGwire, and you get a chance to talk to the players and find out things that aren't, in the stat sheets. I talked to Mark about, his family and friends and whatever, and it was great. I mean, and his eyes lit up. I mean, he was having a good time talking about it.
Runner goes. The ball is driven into right center field, a base hit. Picked up out there by Stayers. Stopping at third is Loretta. A single for Levis. And the Brewers get something going with 2 out again. They had 2 out and nobody on in the first when they scored a run. Now they've got another shot to do it again here.
And this is interesting, though, John. This is basically a typical Milwaukee situation. We'll watch the pitcher. This pitch is up. See, it doesn't break very sharply. It hangs, and he hits a line drive in the right center field. But what you have is guys that play station to station, a lot of singles, so they have to get a lot of singles to drive in runs. And if you mix in a ground ball in between there where they hit into a double play or they don't execute properly, they're not going to score a lot of runs. So they have been doing this, again, with Greg Vaughn in the lineup. But if you take one bat out of any lineup, a big bat, it's going to hurt you.
Now Pat Listash comes up. Switch hitting leadoff man. Singled his first time. Brewers have 5 hits against Tailgater already. We're only in the second inning, but only 1 run. That also happens to teams that don't have much power.
Right.
Listash with runners at first and third, 2 down. Tailgater to the plate. Strike. Now, Mark McGwire seemed to enjoy talking about his other life.
Yes, he did. He has a son, Matthew, who will be 9 years old in October. And, I mean, his eyes really lit up when he started talking about it.
Into the hole. Nice pickup at second base. Bornegal throws him out. So there we see that Oakland defense again. Part of the reason that Milwaukee has just the 1 run with 5 hits. Big power. 1-0 Milwaukee as we go to the last of the second here at the Oakland Coliseum.
And this inning-ending double play by Bornegal was a lot more difficult than you might realize. Now watch, not only does he have to get there, but he has to play the hop. See that little in-between hop he has to take? And he makes a nice play there, because not only was it tough just to cut it off, but watch, now he has to catch that funny little hop right in between. But he does a great job of staying down on the ball, and then it becomes easy.
That's the Oakland game this year. They've been very solid defensively. Tim Van Egmond to Geronimo Berroa, and it's ball 1. Berroa, 26 home runs. Long-time minor leaguer. Finally got an extended shot in Oakland where they had a need. And last year, 22 homers, 88 RBIs. And now playing every day this year and really busting loose. Berroa from the Dominican Republic is 31 years of age, and he's been playing professionally since 1984, but mostly in the minor leagues. He's got brief shots with Atlanta and Cincinnati and Florida. But Oakland had a hole. Geronimo, go out there and show us what you can do. And he continues to open their eyes with each succeeding season.
He's a very aggressive hitter, John. He really attacks the ball.
Out he is called out on strikes for 1 away. Now here's an update with Reese Davis.
John, Network MCI takes us to Arlington, Rangers and White Sox. It's the second. Mickey Chattelton, you can put that on the board. His 17th, that makes it 1-0 Rangers. Kevin Nelson says he can't let Chattelton get ahead of him in the home run race, so he answers with his 17th. A 2-run shot also in the second inning. Rangers up 3-0. Back to John and Joe in Oakland.
Thanks, Reese, and we'll keep close tabs in that ball game. We understand Juan Gonzalez, who's having this incredible year for Texas when he's able to play tonight, is not in the lineup, but they're hitting the long ball anyway. Here's Terry Steinbach. Apparently he's injured his right middle finger and is taking the night off. So Berroa retired, and now Van Egmond facing Terry Steinbach. And Steinbach, the veteran, one-time MVP in an all-star game, in the World Series and everything else. But all of a sudden this year, he's got this power stroke going, and he credits part of it, Joe, to the workouts he did with Kirby Puckett this winter in his native Minnesota. That's a foul out of play.
Well, who better to learn from than Kirby Puckett? And he says he learned to stay back on the ball and not get out in front so much. Dusty's hitting a lot of balls to left center field, right center field, and he's driving them out of the ballpark. But he's also been the guy that's had to lead this young pitching staff, so a lot of pressure on a catcher, a lot more than people realize. I mean, not only is he supposed to hit as one of the offensive threats on this ball club, but he also has to make sure that these young pitchers learn how to work in the big leagues. And he had some interesting comments when I talked to him today about just the philosophy of pitching and having young pitchers throw to him.
He lays off that slider from Van Egmond. 2-2 the count. Now, he's been particularly hot since the All-Star break. In only 74 at-bats, 8 home runs, and he had 5 of those in one 3-game period. 3-2 now.
Actually, the 2-2 pitch, John, that he took for the breaking ball in the dirt was an example of what he was talking about with Kirby Puckett, where he learned to wait on the ball better, more like Kirby does. Or did.
And he struck him out with that slider. Or maybe a cut fastball. Tough-looking pitch, though, on the outside by Van Egmond.
It was definitely a breaking ball because it fooled him a little bit with the speed as well as the break.
Right field.
And you'll see the rotation on it. See, that is a breaking ball there. You can see it because the speed got him. And you'll see Steinbach just a little bit out in front of that breaking ball. Good pitch there by Van Egmond.
Kind of pitch. I mean, if he hadn't swung it, might have been called a strike anyways.
Almost a perfect pitch.
Now Matt Stairs. Now Stairs, another well-traveled guy, been with a lot of organizations, mostly as a minor leaguer. And they brought him up here recently. And he has a hot bat. He's only had 68 at-bats. And he got 5 home runs and a .309 average. Left center field. And this guy streaking across the green, and he makes the catch. Stairs retired, and so are the Athletics. Fernando Vina, then Cirillo and Nilsson coming up. 1-0 Milwaukee. The ESPN Sunday Night Baseball Game of the Week is brought to you by Prescription Strength Desonex, the doctor's cure. The golden radiance, the late afternoon San Francisco Bay with an armada moving in from the bay into the Jack London Square area there between Oakland and Alameda. Jack London. And now back to the Coliseum, and there's a look from the very top of the new seats out there for the football. I don't know how good a seat that would be, say, for a baseball game, Joe. But
no, not very good for baseball.
But right at the 50-yard line. I mean, not right at the 50-yard line, maybe just you and the people sitting around you and the blimp at the 50. And that's where they'll stick Uke when he comes to a game. Uke, the voice of the Brewers. Here's Fernando Vina, and he takes ball 2. 2-0 the count. Now they're going to put a tarpaulin over those big seats out there in what would be center field for baseball.
Right.
When they're all finished building that out there. And the baseball capacity will be around 43,000. But it's a very sort of odd-looking structure in a baseball context. I mean, that's the center field area. And those are luxury suites, and those seats are way up there. Fernando Vina hit into a double play his first time. I tried to drag a bunt, and he missed it. 2-2 the count to Fernando. Jeff Cirillo coming up on deck, and Vina, the number 2 hitter in the order.
John, we might also mention that since they built that structure, this has become a better hitter's ballpark. The ball travels a lot better here than it did before. This was one of the toughest parks in the major leagues to hit home runs out of, especially in the evening. And now it is not nearly as difficult, and the ball just travels very well here now.
It's convenient. Foul down the right field line, deep and back into the crowd.
In fact, when I was on the field today talking to McGuire, he hit one, and he said, Joe, the ball's really carrying today. And Terry Steinbach says, well, it carries every day when McGuire hits it. But he said that's good to know for the rest of us.
Really carried in the Sky Dome the other day. It's the longest home run ever seen at the Sky Dome. That is foul, so the count is 2-2. Now, I like that shot. We saw that light standard above those new stands out there. Again, that's the view from the top of those stands. Beautiful view of the bay and everything.
Yes.
to the Coliseum Arena where the Warriors play. Just behind the home plate area out there. Ernie Young out in center field, rather shallow. And Vigna is out number 1 here in the third. The Brewers lead 1-0.
Ball batting.
Banjo will have more baseball telecasts at home than ever before when you purchase Major League Baseball Extra Innings featuring hundreds of baseball telecasts from outside your area. Call DirecTV or Prime Star to subscribe to Major League Baseball Extra Innings. You have that, don't you?
Yes, I do.
I thought so.
I watch 10, 12 games every week.
You're sort of like Big Brother now.
Yeah.
I'm watching. Wherever you are, whatever you do, I'm watching. Yeah, that's Joe Morgan. He puts that in his stationery now. Jeff Cirillo at the plate. Singled and scored a run his first time, the only run of the game. And Cirillo takes ball 1. 1-0 Milwaukee. You all right? Dave Telgater, and he throws him a called strike. Cirillo is a resident of Seattle, but he went to the University of Southern California, so hey, they always turn out
good hitters.
Outstanding baseball talent, yeah. And I don't know, Joe, I mean, he may be after your job. He got a degree in communications. And I asked him before the game how he was doing and so on and so forth. And I said, you're really having a pretty good year. And he said, that's right, John. So I've already put him I've already put him on my list of future, you know. Portugal takes it, really battling that sun. And now, Joe, you played second base here.
Right.
For a year, and this time of year, when there are no clouds in the sky, that is a real tough field, isn't it?
It's a very difficult field. In fact, the whole right field as well. Anything hit to the right side is more difficult than the left field, because there is a little perspective you can get against the backdrop here, but from the right side, it's just you and the sun.
Now Dave Nilsson, and that is ball 1. This guy, they were really watching his progress to the minor leagues. 1 year at El Paso, he played 65 games and he hit .418. Now, that guy's hit well down there.
Yes, that's a good hitter's park.
Yeah, but .418, not that many hit .418. No. You see down in Texas, last of the third inning coming up, Rangers 3, White Sox nothing. White Sox leading the wild card race right now. The Rangers leading the Western Division. We'll keep you up to date on that one, as well as bringing you this ball game. Texas with just a 1-game lead over the Seattle Mariners now. Mariners defeated Detroit today. Of course, the Mariners were pretty active this week. They picked up Jamie Moyer, left-handed pitcher, from the Red Sox one day, and the next day they picked up Terry Mulholland, another left-hander. And Randy Johnson apparently threw a couple of innings in a minor league rehab assignment this weekend, so they may get him back in a few weeks. Nilsson hits it slowly. It's hanging fair, and it is a fair ball. So that's the inning. 1-0 Milwaukee. We go to the last of the third.
Reese Davis with you. Mariners and Tigers at the corner this afternoon, and boy, is Alex Rodriguez getting it done or what. Top of the sixth, rips a double to left field. He had 3 RBIs on the day. That average now up to 360 to lead the AL. Mariners win it 9-3. Back to John Miller, Joe Morgan, and Oakland.
Thanks, Reese. And don't forget our Wednesday night doubleheader. Frank Thomas and the White Sox taking on Cecil Fielder and the Yankees from Yankee Stadium. And then it'll be Ken Griffey Jr. and Alex Rodriguez taking on Albert Bell, Kenny Lofton, Manny Ramirez, and the Cleveland Indians. Quite a bit. It'll be sort of like an all-star game at the Kingdome, that second half of the doubleheader Wednesday night. So Wednesday night baseball, there'll be a lot of great talent on display in each of those games. Here is Ernie Young. Showing excellent range as he takes the ball from Van Ekman. 2-0. Looks like a very good center fielder. He's showing some power at times. 15 home runs. He'll be followed by Mike Bordick and the leadoff man, Rafael Bornigal. And that's a called strike. Which talking about Alex Rodriguez now leading the American League. This guy just turned 21. 360, 24 homers, and 88 runs batted in. 88. And Lou Piniella probably should get Manager of the Year just for the move he made earlier in the year. He moved Rodriguez from the 9th spot in the order to number 2 in front of Griffey and Edgar and Buhner and all those guys. That's a little flare. Foul ball. The fates were not smiling on Ernie Young on that one.
Well, if you get jammed that badly, you at least want to get a base hit out of it. But when you talk about Rodriguez, I mean, this kid at a young age is getting better and better. See, this ball really jams him. He just fights it off, but it looks like it's going to drop into fair territory safely, but it just curved foul. Now he has to come back and do it all over again. I guarantee his teammates are yelling at him from the dugout.
Tom Paciorek, I heard him on a White Sox telecast one night call one of those a jam sandwich.
Well, the players usually yell at you. You hit that one with a Sporting News. What are you going to hit this one with?
High in the air to right field. Really battling the sun out there is Nilsson. And he makes the catch right back near the warning track. Yeah, I'd say the ball is carrying well. The flags indicate the wind is blowing out in that direction, and that one might got a little push out there. There's a look toward San Francisco across the bay from Oakland. Of course, they have 2 ball clubs out here. The Giants, who are really struggling right now, and they are on the road right now. In fact, they come home. Both teams will play home tomorrow. Right over across there is about where Candlestick Park is located. Here is Mike Bordick. And the question, the argument out here for many, many years in the Bay Area, support 2 ball clubs.
And the answer is yes, if they put good teams on the field.
Bordick takes a strike.
And teams that are in contention. I'm not so sure if they do not have good teams that are contending for titles, whether they can support 2 teams.
Or perhaps will.
Yes, good point.
I mean, the population is certainly here, but it's interesting, too, Joe. You know, the Giants got here first, 1958. Oakland came in 68. Bordick belts one high in the air, deep to left center. This guy falls off Newfield. And that's out number 2. 2 men gone, but there's a lot of people even to this day who are A's fans, but who are also Giants fans.
Right.
And that's unlike other 2-team areas. There are people who
are
just Giants fans who don't root for the A's, but there seem to be a lot of people who root for the A's who also root for the Giants, maybe because they were originally Giants fans before the A's ever got here. I don't know, but, you know, Chicago, you got Cubs fans and you got Sox fans, and they don't overlap much. In fact, Sox fans don't like the Cubs, period. You know, and the Yankees Mets, same thing. Bornegal, the leadoff man, former Dodger. 1-0, the Brewers ahead. We're in the last of the 3rd inning. Tim Van Egmond, he looked pretty good so far. Only given up 1 hit, and that was an infield hit by Brocious. Off the fists. Cirillo throws him out. Bornegal trying to hit one with a Sporting News. We go to the 4th inning. Sights are coming up. 1-0. Thanks, Reese. And we will be keeping you up to date on that Texas-Chicago game as we bring you this one. Here is Kevin Seitzer against Dave Telgater, and Seitzer takes ball 1. Seitzer popped out to second his first time, hitting .328. 34-year-old veteran. Broke into the big leagues with Kansas City back in 1986. Has had a hard time finding regular work here the last few years, but with Milwaukee, they keep re-signing him after they let him go every year, and he keeps hitting .300 for them. Takes the ball outside.
John, if there ever was the term professional hitter ever fit anyone, I think it fits Seitzer well in that he doesn't try to do too much with the ball. He always gets some base hits. I mean, he's not a guy that's going to go into a prolonged slump. He puts the ball in play. He just knows how to hit.
Telgater throws him out. McGuire with a nice pick.
That was an excellent play. I mean, that shows you that some pitchers are good athletes. I mean, that was a tough play. Now watch how he's off balance, falling a little bit towards first base. Now he reacts and makes a nice play. He has to stop himself, plant, and throws to first base with a little help from McGuire. He gets Seitzer out.
Throw a forkball over there to McGuire. Now John Jaha comes up against Tailgater. Jaha struck out his first time with a crap ball. Strike, and it's 0-1. 1-0. Milwaukee ahead. We're in the fourth inning from the Coliseum. Sunday Night Baseball. Jaha looks at ball one. 1 ball and 1 strike. Jaha was another one of the guys that the Brewers have been bringing along that they thought was going to be a good hitter for them. He had some big years in the minor leagues. Drove in 134 runs one year in El Paso, but it did not happen for him automatically in the big leagues. Struggled a bit, and really in the second half last year started to come on after missing a lot of the first half with some injuries. He is from the West Coast. He's from Portland, Oregon. Lives now in Oregon, still. Gresham. You ever been there?
No, I have not.
You've never been to Gresham?
No.
You got to get out more, Joe.
I don't travel very much, Joe.
It's right out here in the West Coast.
San Francisco is the farthest west I've ever been.
Except last week when you were in Maui. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Oh, down he goes. 2 men down. Well, we're talking about Mark McGuire here tonight, and yeah, he has experienced the great days with the Athletics, but he has also seen the depths. One year he hit only 201. He talked about that low point.
I've had 201. Do you know how embarrassing it is that at 201? And to ask to have the last day off of the season so I wouldn't go under 200. I had to have the guts to go in and ask Tony. I said, Tony, I need to have this day off because for me, psychologically, to hit under 200 would be demoralizing.
Yeah, now those were the bad old days. That's not the way it's going for him right now, though. Mark Newfield is grounded out. McGuire will be coming up third when we get back. 1-0 Brewers. And now Sunday Night Baseball continues. John Miller, Joe Morgan with you from the Oakland Coliseum. And here is Scott Brocious facing the Milwaukee right-handed Tim Van Ekman. And there's a called strike. Joe, remember how I mentioned John Jaha is from Oregon?
Yes.
Well, here's Scott Brocious. Guess where he's from?
Oregon.
Oh, you've been studying. From Hillsboro, Oregon. Lives now in McMinnville, Oregon. Oregon is very nice. You know who's from Oregon I mean, probably taught you a few things along the way? Johnny Pesky.
Yes.
From Portland, Oregon.
He did teach me some things along the way.
Johnny has taught almost everybody who's ever played the game at one time or another. Shallow right field. Nilsson shading the eyes. And he almost didn't handle that one. There is one away. Mark McGuire comes out on deck.
John, let's take a look at McGuire. Now, watch, this is him on the left. Now, take a look at this. I'm going to show you the difference in his swing. Look at the angle of his body. You really want your angle here. What you'll do with this swing is hit a lot of home runs, but you also hit a lot of pop-ups and strikeouts, and that's what he did there.
In 91.
Yes. Now, watch this swing this year. Look at this. Great balance. Look at that. Almost perfect balance. He can still drive the ball out of the ballpark, but that's why he's hitting for such a high average. He has a much better balance. Bat stays level through the hitting zone much longer, and that's why he's hitting, you know, over 300 this year as compared to in the past when he was struggling.
Giambi. Shallow center. That's in there. Base hit. This dash overruns the ball. Giambi heading for second. He makes it easily. Good hustle. And that'll bring up McGuire, but also with first base open now.
Well, this is Giambi at his best. He just takes the ball. Look, he stays in there and just lines it back through the middle. He didn't try to do too much with that pitch. Just hit it back through the middle. You can see Listash overruns it, and good hustle there by Giambi. He never slowed down rounding first base. He anticipated a misplay in the outfield, and he continued on to second base.
Now Mark McGuire. Way inside of low ball one.
And just like the first time up, they start him by moving him off the plate inside, and then they went away with a breaking ball. We'll see if they keep the same pattern this second time around. It worked for them the first time up.
Van Ekman got McGuire to hit one to the shortstop for a force out his first time. Broken back and caught by the diving baseman, Vina, at shortstop, because they had 3 infielders on the left side again.
And they used the exact same pattern this at bat as they did the first time up. But again, I told you Mark McGwire knows how they're pitching him as well. They went inside with a fastball, back away with a breaking ball. He came off it just a hair, even though he hit a line drive. If he would have stayed a split second longer, I mean, he would have ripped it through the infield. But a nice play there by Vina.
Now Geronimo Berroa. Berroa, 31 years of age. Lives in New York City. Off-season now. He's originally from the Dominican Republic. He was signed by former Blue Jays scout Eddie Guerrero back in 1984. If he sort of specialized in guys from the Dominican Republic. 1 ball to no strikes. Runner at second. 2 down. Milwaukee ahead 1-0. Throwing Berroa sliders here. Berroa with 26 home runs in 404 at-bats, but he struck out looking his first time up tonight.
Well, you throw Berroa a lot of breaking balls off the plate. He can handle a breaking ball if it's a strike. But because he is an aggressive hitter, he will chase a few pitches out of the strike zone. But you never want him to lose the aggressiveness that he has, so you live with that.
There's Giambi at second. He got credit for a single, and an error was charged to Listash on that base hit for enabling him to go to second. Vina is not over at shortstop again, but he's almost right up the middle. It's a foul off the foot, and that hurt. 2-1 to count to Geronimo Berroa.
While he walks around, I'll ask you a question. How many brothers Mark McGwire has? 4 other brothers, right?
There's 5 of them.
Yes. No, he doesn't have any sisters, all brothers. And we know Dan, of course, who plays football for the Miami Dolphins. But when you think about the McGwire family, I asked him what did they do, you know, together as a group. He said golf was a bigger thing in their household than baseball was. And he said what they did when they go out together, the 5 of them, they tried to outdrive each other. That was the big deal. See who could hit it the farthest.
How come I'm not surprised?
Yeah. If they can hit it as far as Mark, I'm telling you, that's something. He said it's always a challenge.
Fastball is too low. 3-1 now to Berroa. Steinbach is on deck. We're in the last of the 4th inning. Brewers ahead 1-0. This brother Dan, a former #1 NFL draft choice for Seattle, trying to win that backup job with the Dolphins under Jimmy Johnson. Giambi at second. Slider just seemed to be intent on pitching around Berroa. That's the first walk allowed by Van Egmond, and it will keep the inning going. Thing is, you pitch around Berroa,
right?
And there's Steinbach having the best year he's ever had.
It definitely doesn't get any easier.
Now the first baseman, Seitzer, the veteran, along with the catcher, Levis, out to the mound to talk to Tim Van Egmond. 2 men on, 2 men out for Oakland in the 4th inning. This is where they've been struggling. Oakland has not been getting the clutch hits in this series. They've left 22 men on base in the first 2 games of the series. 12 on Friday in a 4-3 loss. They also have not scored since Friday. Nearly 15 innings now without a run. 0-1. Steinbach struck out his first time.
Good breaking ball there from Van Egmond. And that's the way he pitched Steinbach the first time up. He threw him breaking balls away.
Van Egmond got a very youthful look about him. And that's a foul ball, another breaking ball. Van Egmond is 27 years of age, and he's from the South. Born in Shreveport, Louisiana. Lives in Georgia right now. There's Steinbach. Look at that, in a 2-year period. In more than twice as many at-bats as he's had this year, he hit 26 homers. So he has found some power he didn't realize he possessed this year.
It's been an interesting pitch from Van Egmond because he's thrown him a lot of breaking balls away, and at some point you have to keep him honest by, you know, going inside.
Staying outside.
You waste that pitch away. And remember, when you're pitching in a clutch situation like this to a catcher who knows just about every pattern of all the pitchers, it's very difficult to fool him. So he's just going to try to make good pitches and get him out.
1-2 the count. There's a shot. Hit hard to deep left center. Off the wall. Giambi scores the tying run, and Baroa the go-ahead run on a Steinbach double. 2-1 Oakland.
The problem you have there is that, you know, Steinbach is a catcher, and he knows I have not hit the breaking ball well today, so they're going to keep throwing it to me. So he's waiting for the breaking ball, and then he gets a hanger. This ball hangs in the middle of the plate right there, and it says hit me, and he does. I mean, see how he waits on this ball, but it's not a good breaking ball, so he rips it off the wall. I actually thought it was going out. So maybe the ball isn't carrying that well today, John, but he hits off the top of the wall, and he gets 2 runs batted in.
Now, that part of the wall out there is 15 feet high, roughly twice as high as the rest of the fence. And they got these rather shallow areas. That was one of them. I mean, that 362 spot is pretty shallow from what most ballparks would measure to that area. Most parks would be up around 370 or more. So, a 2 RBI double by Steinbach. And now Stayers with the ground ball to Seitzer, and the inning is over. But Oakland puts up a couple of runs. The 200th double of Steinbach's career. 2-1 Oakland. Sunday Night Baseball. Oakland ahead now 2-1 after 4. Brewers coming up tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. It's NFL Prime Monday with Sterling Sharp and Mike Tirico. They'll have a special report from Chris Mortensen as well as all the latest training camp news. That's NFL Prime Monday tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern here on ESPN.
And they never came inside. Now watch, you have to come inside to keep the good hitters honest. See, he never bends, he never bails, he just waits right there. The 0-2 pitch should have been off the plate inside instead of off the plate outside. You have to keep good hitters honest inside, or else they're always going to be able to attack the breaking ball that you hang.
So, a mistake by Van Egmond, and Steinbach did not let him get away with it. Mark Loretta singled to right his first time. Broken back ground ball. Takes a high hop right to Bordick. And there is one away in the Brewers' 5th inning. Now an update with Reese Davis.
John, I hope you guys got a chance to see this catch in the Indian-Orioles game. Top 8, O's down 3-2, couple been on. B.J. Sturoff. That thing looks like it's gone, but Kenny lost it. Gets up and even sticks the landing on the dismount. It sparked the drive to an 11-run 8th. They would win it 14-2.
Wow. John, I mean, did we just see that? Was that a great catch or not?
Kenny Lofton. That's 2 Sundays in a row he has robbed an Oriole as Levis takes ball 1. Last Sunday, he robbed Roberto Alomar of a home run at Camden Yards. But now this one, that's in the running for best catch of the year.
Maybe
among
ever.
The best of the decade.
Yes.
All right. Maybe ever.
Yes, that was an amazing catch. I mean, the timing, everything was perfect.
Kenny Lofton. And how many are better in center field than Kenny Lofton?
That's where his basketball background comes into play right there. He timed that leap perfectly like he was rebounding.
Jesse Levis retired. Now leadoff man Pat Listash. He has singled and grounded out. 2-1 Oakland. Dave Telgater with the lead now. Bluffing the bunt and taking ball 1 is Listash. It's interesting. Telgater got out of a couple of jams in the first 2 innings. Gave up 5 hits in 2 innings, but only allowed 1 run. And now has retired 9 in a row. Deep center field. Ernie Young still going back. And that ends the inning. Halfway through it. Ernie Young will be coming up. 2-1 Oakland. John Miller, Joe Morgan from the Oakland Coliseum. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball every Sunday. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Tune us in. We'll have a ball game for you. Tonight we're in Oakland, and the Oakland Athletics, one of the real surprising ball clubs of the year. They had so much unknown talent going with young guys in their rotation that most people said, wow, these guys, it'd be almost impossible for them not to lose 100 games this year. And yet here they are, right around 500. And this Oakland ball club under Art Howe, first-year manager, replacing Tony La Russa, who is one of the great managers in the game, and that's so many great ball clubs here. And Art Howe has this ball club playing hard, playing great defense, and they've developed some legitimate talent out here. Guys like Brocious and Giambi. Ernie Young looks like he has a chance to come on and be a good one. He flies deep to right. in his only at bat tonight. The count is 2-0 to him.
John, the great thing about Art Howe is he has a lot of patience. Has a quiet demeanor about him, but you know he's in charge.
Mike Bordick on deck, and then Rafael Bordigo. Ernie Young with 15 home runs. Got kind of a big swing, though. Strikes out a lot. And Van Ekman ends up walking. As mentioned, home runs. Oakland got 6 different guys with 15 or more home runs, threatening the all-time home run record of the Yankees. Yogi Berra, Elston Howard, and there's John Blanchard and Moose Skowron. And the Mick hit 54 that year, 61. Roger Maris, who hit 61, the all-time record. And here is number 61 against Tracy Stallard, the final game of the year at Yankee Stadium. Bill Rizzuto said, "Holy cow, he did it!" And indeed he did. 61 homers. Now, it's been 35 years since the late Roger Maris hit the 61. Ruth's record of 60 home runs had stood for 34 years. So, Joe, it seems like it's about time that somebody at least took a run at that record again. Ernie Young at first base with the walk. The batter, Mike Bordick. Well, we mentioned the Yankees in 61 with their 240 homers. Here's the complete list. Maris 61, Mantle 54. That's the highest home run total for a twosome on the same ball club in Major League history. And then Skowron added 28 more. That's the best for a threesome, 143 for those three. Yogi, who was a left fielder most of the time, 22. Elston Howard, the catcher, also led the club in hitting. He had 348 that year. And John Blanchard, who was on the bench most of the time, hit 21 homers, pinch hitting, and occasionally playing. Well, the count has gone to 2-0 to Bordick. And the pitching coach, Don Rowe, is going out. Now, here's this Oakland ball club taking a run at that Yankee home run record. McGuire leading the way. Then Baroa, Steinbach. Now, all three of those guys have a shot, an outside shot at finishing with 40 or around 40 home runs. And Giambi still got a shot at maybe 30. Brocious, Ernie Young, they've got the shot of having 6 guys at 20 or more, which has not often been done in baseball history. Now, they need 60 home runs in the season's final 51 games to beat the Yankees' 240 home run record. The difference, I guess, is that this year they're not the only club that has a shot to beat that record.
You're right. Seattle, right?
Seattle Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles also have set a pace to hit more than 240 if they kept that pace up the rest of the year. Well, Van Ekman's not been able to get the ball over in this inning. 4 pitch walk to Young to start the inning. Now 2-0 to Bordick. Young is a guy with pretty good speed, although he does not often steal. Bordick, pretty good run man.
You know, it's interesting, and we talked about how good a job Art Howe has done. To show you even more so is the fact that they do not have anyone with over 4 stolen bases, you know, in the lineup today. And Art Howe's a guy that likes to hit and run, likes to put people in motion. But he is...
Put him in motion there, but Vigna with a tag. Back to first, double play.
Well, that's the Art Howe that I know. He likes to put people in motion. He likes to hit and run. But because they were hitting the ball out of the ballpark, he's been playing a different type game. Nice play here by Vigna. He starts over to cover. Now, watch. He takes it, now he reaches and tags him. Nice play. And the rest is routine.
Now,
I know what you're thinking. But I don't want to touch it. But if you bring it up, I will address it.
Well, I'm just going to say, I want Ernie Young to talk to Albert Bell about what you're supposed to do in a spot like that. You're supposed to keep that guy and turn in that double play.
Yeah, but actually in this situation, Young didn't really have much of a chance, you know, to do anything. Vigna caught the ball near the bag. He was getting ready for his slide, and not a lot that he could do.
Now, look where Vigna is, though.
Yeah, but he's going to the bag. He has to go to the bag.
But he just kind of reached out that time.
I know. That's the way to do it.
He didn't get over and just stand
at
the baseline.
No, that's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Reach out. Reach out and touch someone. Don't stand in the middle.
2 down, nobody on. But the difference was, of course, that, as you pointed out, Young was running.
Yeah.
And he was already almost there.
The bag.
1 ball, 1 strike. To Bornigal. He's grounded to short and grounded to third. Last week in Baltimore, Albert Bell in a double play situation after he'd been hit by a pitch.
Yeah.
Went in with one of those kind of rolling block type slides on Roberto Alomar.
Right.
And Alomar complained about it to the umpire, and they said, hey, Albert did this, he did that. The umpire said illegal play, and Davey Johnson, when he saw the tape, said, that's caught in left field by Newfield, said after the game, said, I watched the tape. That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to try to break up the double play. Vigna's coming up, then Cirillo and Nilsson.
YMCA.
Yeah, Kimasabi. Icebox and the hard hats. This icebox, actually a security guard here at the Coliseum. Yeah, watch out, watch out. Oh no. Icebox and the hard hats. Performing while they drag the infield here at the Coliseum. Here's Fernando Vigna. Grounded into a double play in the first. Fly to shallow center. In the third, he is 0 for 2. Facing Dave Telgater. Art Howe told us, Joe, that Telgater could easily have won all 4 of his previous starts. He came in with a 3.28 ERA. And now we're seeing why. I mean, he's pitching very well again. Cirillo on deck, and then Nilsson. Now, this is the part of the Brewers' order that Phil Garner depends upon to get things started, to get the Brewers' offense rolling. But they have not had a hit since the second inning. Telgater has retired 10 in a row until now. Base hit, the first of the game for Vigna. 6 hits, all singles for the Brewers. 5 singles in the first 2 innings, but just 1 run. Now, Cirillo will be coming up.
This is a difficult time for the hitter, John, because if you look out, the pitcher, his upper body is in the sunshine, his lower body is in the dark. And you have that line across the infield, as you can see. And there you see the hitter sees this, and then watch the ball get dark. It comes into the right there. That's what makes it difficult to hit in these situations at this time of day.
Jeff Cirillo singled and scored the Brewers' run. 2-1 Oakland ahead. We're in the 6th inning. Cirillo also has popped out to second. He's hitting .334. He was failing a little bit on that.
Well, I felt like on that pitch he was looking for something inside to pull. He got it, but maybe he thought a hit and run was on because he looked down at first base after he took that pitch.
Vigna, the runner at first. McGuire on the bag with him.
Vigna with 11 stolen bases, but he's been caught 6 times, so not a great percentage.
You mentioned Art Howe liking to start the runners and playing the hit and run. I mean, that's been Phil Garner's game ever since he came to Milwaukee. He doesn't have as much speed on his ball club now either as he did. They've stolen 70 bases.
Yeah, they do not have a lot of base stealers, but he still plays an aggressive type game. You can still move runners by hitting and running and opening up holes for your hitters just by putting runners in motion. So you do not always have to steal bases in order to be an aggressive team.
The guy that they had acquired during the offseason to try and add a little speed to that lineup, Chuck Carr.
Chuck E. Carr.
Chuck E. Carr, but he's been hurt most of the year. 0-2 the count to Cirillo. Dave Nilsson is on deck. Now look at, there's Vigna at first base, McGuire alongside of him. Now if ever there's a contrast, I mean, what's Vigna, about 5'6", and McGuire's about 7'5", isn't he? Look at that. Foul tip, strike 3. Struck out Cirillo with a fastball.
Let's take a look at the shadows again. Now watch this ball again. Watch it comes out of the light, and then it just gets darker as it comes close to you. And that fastball right on by Cirillo. That was good pitching. I mean, obviously Cirillo was bailing a little bit. That ball was right in under the hands. Not much he could do with it.
Now Dave Nilsson. He doubled home a run. The Brewers' only run. He had a shot into left center in the first inning. He grounded to first in the third. Ball just would not roll foul. Telgater's breaking ball misses. Ball 1. 2-1. Oakland ahead. Nilsson, born in Brisbane, Australia, and lives now in Everton Hills, Australia. And he's not the only Australian on this Milwaukee ball club. They've got a fine relief pitcher named Graham Lloyd on the ball club. And like Nilsson, he's also a big guy. They must have a lot of very tall people down there in Australia, Joe. Or maybe they just signed the tall ones up here. I don't know.
That's probably it.
High in the air to center field. Ernie Young going back. He's got room out there. Backpedaling. Tagging and heading for second. Vigna. The throw. Out. Bornegal with the tag, and what a throw by Ernie Young. A double play. Side retired. The power coming up for Oakland now. Brocious, Giambi, and McGuire. 2-1 Athletic. John Miller, Joe Morgan from Oakland. 2-1 the Athletics as we go to the last of the sixth. We've been seeing some strong defense from this Oakland club.
And this is a good team effort. They're letting Young know right away that Vigna is tagging up. See, he did not hesitate. He came up and threw a strike to second base. And good execution there. But the key there is they let him know right away. He did not have to look to see if Vigna was running. His teammates let him know, and he got rid of the ball very quickly.
Bornegal with the tag, and Bornegal stood right in there.
Right.
He got right into harm's way to make that tag.
And it was a good play by Vigna. I mean, with 2 outs, it's worth the risk of trying to get to second base. Just a better play by the Oakland defense.
Scott Brocious, the hitters, had an infield hit, and he is flying to shallow right. He is hitting .338 for the year. Giambi and then McGuire will follow. The power is up against Van Egmond. That is a base hit. Well, going back to the play, the fly ball to Ernie Young, we have a microphone on Oakland pitching coach Bob Cluck. Here's his reaction when he saw Vigna tagging up. Yeah, they were all helping Ernie Young.
Yes, well, the help came from the dugout and was relayed out by the players on the field because you have to look and see if the guy's tagging up so the outfielder will not have to look, and he can get himself in position and throw the ball back in. That was an excellent play, and it shows how good communication works on defense.
You know, this Oakland club, I mean, all through this game, the defense has been sparkling. The second batter of the game, Vigna, after Listash led off the game with a single, Vigna hit into a double play. McGuire to Bordick, and finally to Telgater covering that was beautifully turned. And that set the tone for their defense in this one. They made one fine play after the other. Listash himself got victimized on a diving play by Bornegal to end the second inning. And now Ernie Young with that strong throw and the fine tag by Bornegal himself. Oakland is maintaining a 2-1 lead. Giambi is lined to center and single to center and scored a run. With a diving Vigna, heading for third, Brocious. Here comes the throw by Nilsson. Three. Nice slide at third by Brocious.
Who are these guys? They do everything well. Good hustle there by Brocious. When a guy pulls the ball in the hole, you're supposed to get to third base. Good hitting there by Giambi. Finds the hole on the right side. And good hustle there by Brocious. Also a good play, you know, again by the Milwaukee defense. So we've seen a very well-played ball game tonight. Breaking ball in, usually you like to throw sinkers away, but he was able to pull it in the hole. Now watch Brocious. He never slows down. Good throw all the way across the diamond and a very close tag there at third base. And you can see he stays on the bag.
I mean, that was a good throw by Nilsson.
Very good throw. They kept the ball down, so they could have cut it off if Giambi would have hit it for second base.
And Giambi at first, Brocious at third, and here is Mark McGuire, the Major League's leading home run hitter. He is hitting .322, and he takes a strike, and it's 0-1.
And they start him off exactly the same way, inside with the fastball, and then they go away with the breaking ball. We'll see if they continue that pattern. Every first pitch in this ball game to McGuire has been a fastball in, and the second pitch has been a breaking ball away. They're going back inside.
And that's a base hit to right field for McGuire. Coming in to score is Brocious. Giambi will go to third. The throw comes through, but he's in. 3-1 Oakland. Mark McGuire with his 74th RBI of the year.
And you see the look on Phil Garner's face because that was supposed to be a bad pitch inside, and it was not a bad pitch. Now, they throw a fastball on the inside part of the plate. He gets the call. This pitch, McGuire thinks it's inside, but they get the call. Fastball in. See it tailing in. He takes it for a strike. This pitch was supposed to be inside and up, and it's down and out over the plate. And McGuire, even swinging late, hits a line drive to right field for a base hit. That pitch should have been off the plate inside. That's exactly what they wanted to do. And hustling over to third base is Giambi. I think watching Van Egmond, he has pitched a beautiful ball game so far, but he's made a couple of mistakes. The one to Steinbach that he hit off the wall, and this pitch here to McGuire. Both pitches were not exactly where they wanted to throw them. And when you make mistakes under pressure, you're going to pay for it with these good hitters the A's have.
You also see there, Joe, why McGuire's hitting over 300.
Right, exactly. Different hitter.
They really played him to pull. He had 3 infielders to the left side, and he hit it to the right side. Now Baroa. Now Baroa probably won't disappoint like that. I mean, no matter what you throw, he's going to try to pull it.
And he's going to hack at it hard.
I love to watch this guy.
I do too. I mean, he's beautiful to watch because there's nothing more fun to watch than an aggressive hitter.
3-1 Oakland, first and third, nobody out. And there's ball 2 to Baroa. Now this is really a tough part of anybody's batting order. Brocious, Giambi, McGuire, Baroa, Steinbach, 5 tough hitters, all of whom can hit the ball out of the ballpark anytime. There's the veteran right-hander, Doug Jones, warming up in the Milwaukee bullpen. Van Egmond trying to keep his club alive right now. The infield double play depth. They'd exchange a run to get to double play. Right field. Nelson battling the sun. He throws back over to first. Nobody's there. And the ball skips right past McGuire. And backed up by the catcher, Levis. Coming in to score in the play is Giambi. A sacrifice fly for Baroa. It is 4-1 Oakland.
And you can see the aggressiveness in his swing. He just attacks the ball. That's Baroa. And he hits a fly ball out there. It's tough for Nilsson to get set because he's battling the sun. There's a fastball away, and he just goes the other way with it, but he hacks at it. And you see Nilsson with his sunglasses down. It was tough, battle of sun, and then had to come up and try to make a throw. So he decided to go behind McGuire. Good heads-up play there by Levis to back up the play at first base.
Up. The throw went to first, but the first baseman didn't go to first till around the left. Cerullo, the second one. Vigna back to first. 2 double play. Beautifully turned by Vigna, and a great stretch to haul it in at first by Seitzer. 4-1 Oakland. We head to the 7th. Seitzer coming up. The ESPN Sunday Night Baseball Game of the Week is brought to you by the more than 1,350 AutoZone stores across America. AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts. Quite a spectacular double play term of the Milwaukee Brewers to win the Oakland 6th inning. Let's have a look at it in actual time, because that's the best way to appreciate how acrobatic it really was.
You're right. Cerullo takes the slow roller down the line. Now watch. He gets rid of the ball very quickly. Right over the bag. Now watch how quickly he gets rid of the ball. Vigna comes across, and he turns a nice stretch there by Seitzer. Looked great. I mean, that was a very fine double play.
And here is Seitzer after that great save to get the double play, taking a curve for ball 1. Sometimes they do things so beautifully and so quickly that you don't see everything that quite happened. I'll show you something in a moment that you didn't see there in actual speed. There's the ball. 1 ball, 1 strike to Seitzer. He's popped to second and hit a comebacker, 0 for 2. Jaha will follow. Oakland now ahead 4-1 for Tailgater as he works in the 7th inning. Each team with 6 hits. And 40. Number 1. Now watch carefully, Joe.
And John, I've said to you a lot of times, good second basemen have to be able to dance. They have to have good rhythm. You have to be on time, get the beat right. Now watch, we'll take a look here. Now watch Vigna, just a little ahead of the beat, but that's okay. I mean, you can get away with it. Yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, this is really the way to turn the double play. I mean, he doesn't do anything blatantly outrageous. He just comes across, makes the play.
Well, you know, it looked pretty blatant from that other angle.
Well, that was slow motion. You got to remember now, the beat was going all the time. He just tap danced across there. Beautiful.
He tap danced, yeah.
Beautiful.
He tap danced, and there's a spot 3 feet away from the bag where he did it. Here's Jaha taking his strike from Tailgater. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I mean, we often talked about, you know, second baseman and shortstops coming across, maybe cheating a little bit, as we call it. But
did you do that?
No. No.
Oh, thank goodness. Brocious. The tag by McGuire, he got it. Beautiful pickup and an aggressive play by Brocious, and then McGuire saved the play with the sweep tag on Jaha.
And I mean, are we seeing some great defensive plays by both teams? Now, this is a tough play. Either it's a do or die. I mean, Brooks Robertson made this play great, and he just comes in, short hops it, throws on the move, gets a little help from his friend, McGuire at first base, who tags him as he goes by. Nice play, but that's a tough play. You have to come in, you have to commit. You have to say, hey, I'm going to get it, and he came to get it. Good help there by McGuire.
Now Mark Newfield, who has struck out and grounded to second base. He's 0 for 2. 2 down, nobody on. Tailgater has just been sensational. The Brewers have only 1 hit since the 2nd inning. That was a leadoff single by Vigna in the 6th. He's retired 14 of the last 15 men he has faced. He has not walked anybody throughout. As the count goes to 3-0.
You put the jinx on him.
Well, it's the first time he's even had 3 balls on a batter, Joe. That's the only reason I thought of it. That's the only reason I thought to jinx him. 4 strikeouts, no walks, only 1 run given up. He's leading 4-1. He walked him.
81.
Before I jinx somebody else, here's an update with Reese Davis.
Well, John, I think James Baldwin was jinxed. Kevin Elster already taken him yard and then ripped this one to the alley. A man was on base for the Rangers. That made it 6-0 Texas. It started a 3-run rally and knocked Baldwin right out of there. And the Rangers are beating up on the White Sox 8-0.
And here comes Bob Cluck, the pitching coach for the Oakland Athletics, out to speak to Dave Tailgater. 2 down, Newfield at first, the first walk allowed, and of course, often late in ball games is Hall of Famer Earl Weaver, inducted today, used to say one of the telltale things you look for in the late innings for a pitcher is, does he start to walk people? Does he start to get high with his pitches? Does he look like he's laboring, things like that? So the walk there, the first one he's had, maybe they're wondering now.
Well, sometimes a manager or a pitching coach just wants to go out and look in his eyes and see how, and then tell how he feels.
Well, Bob Cluck was just out there. He's wearing a microphone. Let's see what he had to say to Dave Tailgater when he went out.
We want 1 more out of it. All right. All right, that's all. I got it. All right? This is what we want. We want 7 out of you, and we want 1 more out right here. I got it. All right?
We're getting right here.
All right. Let's go to work.
Well, that was pretty simple.
Yeah.
Just get 1 more out.
But Tailgater says, I got it.
I got it.
That's what you like to hear from your pitcher. Confidence that he can get you that 1 more out that you need.
Mark Loretta has singled and grounded a short. 4-1 Oakland in the 7th inning. That's in there for a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike. Now, let me ask you, Joe. I mean, he says that to him. I mean, is he trying to gauge how Tailgater feels himself? I mean, what's the point of saying that to him? Just trying to make it sound like it's, hey, it's an easy job. Just get 1 more out. What motivational talk? What's he trying to do there?
Well, I think what he's actually trying to do, John, is tell him, I want all you have left for this 1 hitter. He says 1 more out, 1 more hitter, that's all I want. So what he's basically saying, you don't have to worry about saving anything for the 8th inning, saving anything for the 9th inning. Give me all you have right here to this hitter. All right. And if you don't get him out, you're out of the ballgame. That's basically what he's saying. I want all you have left right here.
1-2 the count, and it remains 1-2. Levis would be next. A left-handed hitter, Jim Corsi, you saw, warming up in the Oakland bullpen, a veteran right-hander. Oakland's bullpen has been a strength for them this year. Taking a collection of guys, no big names. They traded Eckersley and Honeycutt, both now with Tony La Russa down in St. Louis, but that bullpen has been very reliable for the Athletics this year. 1-2 the count. Too high. 2-2 the count. See, I guess I'm just expecting he goes out there, and I'm expecting him to give him some technical advice, you know?
Too late for that.
Keep your shoulder in, you know. Throw him this, throw him that. Just wait. I just want 1 more out. 2-2 the count to Loretta. He struck him out. And we feel like we've got some inside info now. That's the end of the night for Tailgater. A fine performance. 4-1 Oakland. Macarena between innings here at the Oakland Coliseum. Next week, well, sorry, Joe. I get carried away with that Macarena. And next Sunday we'll be in Atlanta. The Atlanta Braves having a very good year. They beat the Dodgers today 6-4 in the 9th inning. Came from behind late. But the Braves have had some problems. Fred McGriff's been in a slump. We'll be interested to see what's doing with Fred.
Well, Fred's been away from home. He's been on the road for 17 days, man. He gets back to the friendly confines of Atlanta Fulton County Stadium. I think he'll start to hit again. They'll start to play better. Hey, it's great to be at home this time of the year.
And they'll be playing the Colorado Rockies, who've won 3 straight games, and they won them on the road, which is pretty interesting. The Rockies, for their first 3-game winning streak since 1943, I believe.
Well, you're right. The Rockies started a road trip off poorly, but they're finishing up okay, and maybe this will give them some confidence.
All right, so we'll see the Rockies with Dante Bichette, Andres Galarraga and company, Ellis Burks, and the Atlanta Braves next Sunday night at 8 Eastern. Well, Bob Cluck is wearing that microphone, and when the inning ended, he had some comments for Dave Telgater. We'll bring them to you here when we have a moment. But right now, the Athletics come to bat with Matt Stayers. And ball 1. Here's Cluck.
We're trying to do something different. We're going to let you get a reward for a great job.
Kevin Seitzer takes care of it, and Stayers is out number 1. So Joe, 7 innings. That's all they wanted to see from Telgater. Only his 5th start of the year. And he could hardly have been better.
You're right, and as I mentioned earlier, he could have won all 4 of his starts in his previous starts before tonight. So, you know, they're saying we're going to reward you. We're going to get you a win now. You pitched well again, and we're going to win this one for you.
Yeah, that's the only rub. He's pitched well. He's still talking to Bob Cluck down there. Pitched well in his 4 starts, but had not won 1 yet. He was 0-2. Ernie Young with that big uppercut swing, foul tips one. He's flying deep to right and walked.
And remember, John, this is a new regime here, meaning, you know, the coaching staff. Remember, Dave Duncan was the pitching coach here for so many years, developed a lot of pitchers for the Oakland A's. Now, Bob Cluck.
Broken bat, and right back to Van Egmond. He throws out Ernie Young. 2 men gone.
Well, Bob Cluck has been given the responsibility of developing all these young pitchers. And, you know, and I, listening to him and reading things, quotes from him, I mean, he has a lot of confidence in his method of teaching. He has a lot of confidence in his ability to teach. So I think this is rubbing off a little bit on these young pitchers because most of these young pitchers have had a lot of confidence.
Jim Corsi warming up in the Oakland bullpen, so I guess we'll see him in the 8th inning. Here is Mike Bordick, 2 down, nobody on. Van Egmond, on another day, might be sitting on a lead right now, but his Brewers have been shut down. Van Egmond's given up 4 runs, 2 in the 4th and 2 in the 6th. Van Egmond used to be with the Red Sox organization, and you know, some people have a theory that teams tend to trade for guys that have done well against them. Van Egmond got his first major league victory against the Milwaukee Brewers back in 1994. He made his major league debut against Milwaukee that year. It's a complete game 5 hitter to beat the Brewers in July of '94 for his first major league win. Now he is a Brewer. That's a base hit for Bordick. Hit number 7 for Oakland. Bordick's first. Tomorrow at 1 Eastern, 10 a.m. here Pacific, it's the Mercedes Super 9 Great American Insurance Championship. Defending champ Andre Agassi faces a field including Pete Sampras and Michael Chang. That's the Great American Insurance Championship beginning tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern and continuing throughout the week on ESPN and ESPN2. And I know that my partner Joe Morgan will be tuned in.
Yes, I will.
He is always looking for little tips to improve his tennis game. Rafael Bordigal. Vigna throws him out. We're heading to the 8th inning now. Oakland will go to its bullpen. Levis, Listash, and Vigna coming up 4-1 Athletics. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. Oakland 4, the Brewers 1, 8th inning. And at the Coliseum, Dave Telgater, 7 strong innings. Mark McGwire. No homers for McGwire, but an RBI single. And it was just a 2-1 game in the 6th. Friday at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, it's an up-close special with Roy Firestone. The show will feature the first extensive interviews with Art Modell since his move to Baltimore with his football team, and a big interview with Brian Blades, the first with him since his acquittal on manslaughter charges. That's an up-close special. Next Friday at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN. Here's Jim Corsi, veteran reliever, and he does not lead the staff in saves, but he's sort of right now looking like the setup man. And Jose Herrera has come out to play right field, replacing Geronimo Barroa. They have some very euphonious right fielders here in Oakland, Geronimo Berroa and Jose Herrera. Jesse Levis. The single in the crowd of the short. Bob Shepard, the voice of Yankee Stadium, taught me about euphonious names, Joe.
Okay. Now you taught me.
And it wasn't Berroa, by the way. I made such a big deal out of it.
That's all right. I wasn't going to stop you.
But it was Stairs that he replaced in right field. Well, Levis has gone on strikes. Good start for Corsi. One out, now an update from Reese Davis.
All right, John, back to Arlington. Will Clark at the plate for the Rangers, and Clark hits one to left, and we all know Ozzie Guillen can cover some ground at shortstop, but not that much. Ozzie's out there in left field, and hey, when it's 8-1, the Sox will take highlights anywhere they can get them. Back to you guys.
Ozzie Guillen in left field. Wow. Here is Listash. I'd like to know that story. Pat Listash, a switch hitter, batting left-handed, has singled, was robbed of a hit by Bornegal, and he has flied deep to center. 1 for 3. He's the Milwaukee leadoff man. Of course, he throws him a called strike. Of course, he's from up in Red Sox country, up in New England. Went to Newton High School just outside of Boston, and still lives up there in the offseason. Natick, Massachusetts. And he went to college down in Florida, Joe. A little college that, from a sports standpoint, you might only know because they were the college that Georgetown always beats up on in basketball early in the season.
Early, huh?
St. Leo.
Okay.
Okay. When he was at St. Leo, he had an 8 2/3 innings perfect game against Rollins, and then finally finished with a 1-hitter. Brocious throws out Listash. 2 men down. And Oakland pitchers making it look easy tonight when we know it's not, because they've lost 6 out of 7. In the wild card, the White Sox, who are trailing big time, as Reese Davis just showed us. Seattle won its ball game today. Seattle will be a half game out. Baltimore would be back to 4.5 out. And Oakland would move to 5.5 out. Of course, they would just be at 500. And Oakland's still not really thinking seriously about that. I mean, this whole season is about next year, the year after. Fernando Vina. Hit it sharply, but right to McGuire. An easy 8th inning for Jim Corsi. Again, the power coming up for Oakland. Brocious, Giambi, and McGuire will bat third. Don't forget, as we bring you Sunday Night Baseball, there's a big Wednesday Night Baseball doubleheader on ESPN. Frank Thomas and the White Sox take on Cecil Fielder in pinstripes. He joined the Yankees in the road. He'll be putting the pinstripes on for the first time this week. 7:30 Eastern. And then Albert Bell, Kenny Lofton, and the Cleveland Indians take on arch rival Ken Griffey. Alex Rodriguez, Jay Buhner, and the Seattle Mariners at 10:30 Eastern, 7:30 Pacific. I mean, the stars will be out in force on our Wednesday night doubleheader on ESPN. Scott Brocious. And if the master plan goes well, I mean, Scott Brocious and Jason Giambi, the next couple of years will be thought of as stars. I mean, Brocious has had a breakthrough season. The thing with Brocious, though, unlike Giambi and some of the other young Oakland players, he's been around a while.
Yes.
He spent many years in the minor leagues. He's 29 years old. Tonight, 2 for 3. He drills one down the left field line. Newfield over his head. He'll have to go chase it. And Brocious has his 3rd hit of the game, a double.
And McGuire was right. The ball is carrying well today. That ball jumped out there with a line drive, but Newfield had no chance to get back on it.
Well, the Milwaukee bullpen is busy, as you see that shot off the bat of Brocious.
And Newfield, no chance to get back there in time. It was just a line drive right over his head in left field.
Now we got a pitching change coming up. That's it for Van Egmond, who did not pitch badly. 4-1 Oakland. Doug Jones, the veteran, coming in. We'll be back. John Miller, Joe Morgan, your Sunday night telecasters back here in Oakland. 4-1 the Athletics ahead. There's the veteran right-hander with the walrus-like mustache. Doug Jones, just picked up by the Brewers within the last 10 days or so. And he's only gotten into a handful of games. He inherits a runner at second, Scott Brocious. And Jason Giambi, a left-handed hitter at the plate with McGuire on deck. Now, this guy, Joe, does not throw very hard.
No, his best pitch is his changeup. He'll run the fastball away from the left-handed hitters. He was the closer in a couple of times. He's been a closer in Houston. He closed in Philadelphia for a while.
He was the closer for Baltimore last year and was the closer for the Cubs at the start of this year. And finally, they released him. By the way, we mentioned he didn't throw very hard. He threw that first pitch in there at 67 miles an hour to Giambi. The Brewers were having a lot of bullpen problems. In their last 13 games, 5 blown saves and 10 homers allowed in that time. Terrible. They blew big leads in the 9th inning and back-to-back nights out here in the coast. And then they signed Doug Jones. That's a foul by Giambi, who is 2 for 3 in this game. And then they also made the big trade just before the deadline. And they got a couple of more relief pitchers from San Diego. Ron Ballone, a hard-throwing lefty, and Bryce Flory, as well as Newfield. And look at that. 10 times they've lost games this year when they were ahead at the end of 7. That is terrible. Well, there's that changeup. And Giambi goes down. Now Mark McGwire.
First baseman, Mark McGwire.
Now, McGwire tonight was grounded out, lined out, and hit a single to right to drive in a run. Now, first base is open, Joe, with 1 out. Barroa on deck. The catcher, Levis, out to the mound, and now Phil Garner goes down. Why wouldn't they just go ahead and walk McGwire?
Well, I think he wants to know how he feels pitching to McGwire, and they're going to go back over their scouting report to make sure that they do pitch to him, you know, according to the scouting report. But McGwire has done very well against Jones. He's 7 for 17, which is a .412 average and 1 home run. So I don't know if he does have a game plan.
Well, and plus right now he's doing pretty well against everybody.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. They set up inside again, and there they go, right back inside.
Fastball, 82-mile-an-hour fastball. That's pretty good for Doug Jones, though. Well, Jones knows how to pitch.
Right. And I think this will be interesting because I think Phil Garner wants to find out as much as he can about Jones, you know.
Changeup. Well, that's Doug Jones. I mean,
yeah. Fastball, then a changeup, and then another fastball. He'll mix some fastballs in. But you can see that he's going to be ahead of this pitch. He's way out in front of that changeup, fooled completely because it looked like a fastball.
3 men on the left side of the infield. That is pulled foul. That was 69 miles an hour. Another changeup.
I think the difficult thing, if you're right-handed to hit Jones, is to keep the ball fair. I mean, just like that. I mean, especially if you're a slugger like McGwire. Now he's in the hole. If he can make one good pitch, he figures he can get McGwire out, but cannot make a mistake.
He's thrown 2 changeups already. There's a fastball high and tight. So is that setting up the next changeup?
Yes, it should be.
2-2 the count to McGwire. Brocious at second, 1 out.
But he can actually afford to waste another fastball inside if he really wants to. Yeah, but you see the catcher shake his head there and says, that's what I wanted. That was the pitch he wanted. It was a fastball out of the strike zone and up. They were trying to get McGwire to chase it.
Tim Cheetah, plate umpire, said no. Now pretty close.
Now I'll bet your house that this is a changeup. Right on the outside.
Him out. Well, that looked farther outside than the previous one. I don't know. What can I say? Well, McGwire with kind of a sarcastic-looking smile on his face there.
Well, you can see him grip the ball back in his hand. That's the changeup right over the outside corner. So says Tim Cheetah. You can see right there how he releases. Now, that's a change, even though it has some rotation on it. You could tell by the way he had his wrist cocked when he threw it.
Now Barroa deep into left field. Newfield back in the scoreboard. And that ends the inning. So, pretty good job by Doug Jones. He's been doing it that way for a lot of years. A couple of strikeouts and a fly ball. Cirillo, Nilsson, and Seitzer, last chance for Milwaukee. Sunday Night Baseball, and here we go to the 9th inning. Last chance for the Brewers. And they get their 3, 4, and 5 hitters coming up against Jim Corsi. 4-1, Oakland is out in front. Damon Mayshore, rookie outfielder, on in left field for Jason Giambi. As we go to the 9th, and here is Jeff Cirillo to lead it off. He's the number 3 hitter in the order, hitting .333, and he is 1 for 3 tonight. He's had an average night. He scored the Milwaukee run. The Brewers, since the 2nd inning, have only put 2 men on base. Vigna with a leadoff single in the 6th. New field with a 2-out walk in the 7th. Nobody else has reached base since the 2nd inning for Milwaukee. 4 runs, 8 hits for Oakland. 1 run, 6 hits, and 1 error for Milwaukee. And amazingly, Oakland has hit nary a home run. Ball 1. Now, Cirillo's job here, just get on base. He's like a leadoff man down by 3 in the 9th. And John, he's had success at getting on base this year.
And John, one thing to remember, if you do not have a lot of power, it's very difficult to come from behind, especially in the late innings, because you have to string so many hits together in the late innings. If you have some power, you can come from behind.
Just in case something gets going here, they do have John Jaha, that one real home run threat, due up 4th in the inning. Up the middle, base hit. Cirillo, who also came into the game with a 400 on-base average, gets on base. The Brewers, though, need more base runners. Don't forget now, right after the game, it's SportsCenter here on ESPN with Keith Olbermann and Dan Patrick. The Olympics ended tonight. And they'll have the coverage of that. Hall of Fame induction today. Earl Weaver went into the Hall of Fame, as did Jim Bunning. Had a conversation with Mark McGwire. We saw a little bit of that earlier in our telecast tonight. Well, Jim Corsi's gone, and the left-hander, Mike Moeller, comes on with the left-handed batting Dave Nilsson due up. Game's not over yet. We'll be back. Baseball, and here is Mike Moeller now, the Oakland left-hander, to face the left-handed batting Dave Nilsson with a runner at first and nobody out. Oakland ahead 4-1, and this is why Moeller's on the staff, mostly for spots just like this.
Well, it's very important. We talked about the fact that, you know, the real threat of power on this ball club is John Jaha. So what you want to do is try to make sure that as Jaha comes up, he cannot tie the ball game. So Nilsson becomes very important, and then Seitzer as well.
And there's the runner at first, Jeff Cirillo, who singled to center field. Meanwhile, in Texas, the Rangers maintaining a 9-1 advantage over the White Sox. That's at the top of the 8th at the ballpark in Arlington. By the way, they've been getting the big crowds there. As it heated up in the summer, the Rangers out in front of the West. They've had the 3rd highest attendance in the American League this year.
Well, people are starting to believe that the Rangers can win their division.
Here is Nilsson. 1 for 3. Double home run in the first. That one is hit high in the air, deep down the left field line. Into the corner. Mayshore. That's out of play. A foul ball. Well, you got an idea of the power of Nilsson right there, and also the way the ball is carrying here tonight. He has only hit 1 home run all year against a left-hander in 56 at-bats. And, of course, he's just murdered right-handers. 387 against the right-handers.
And when you're as good a hitter as he is against the right-handers, if you get more and more at-bats against the left-handers, you will be able to fight them off. You don't expect him to hit 387 against the left-hander, but you want him to fight him off, be able to, you know, pick up an RBI single here and there.
Strike on the inside. 0-2 the count. Nilsson is talking to Tim Cheetah about that one. Hitters just don't like that inside pitch called a strike.
90% of the hitters in the major leagues now, John, kind of dive into the ball or go into the ball. That's kind of the new theory of hitting. So that makes you more vulnerable to the inside pitch.
Pitch in there gets called a strike. Almost every hitter will argue the call.
Well, and they're just trying to bluff their way with the umpire because they do not want the ball in there. They like it middle of the plate in, but not in the inside corner.
That one is a drive deep into left center, but Ernie Young, that's the best place to make him hit the ball in this ballpark if you're a pitcher. There's a lot of room out there between the 388 signs out in straightaway center.
And not bad hitting here by Nilsson, as I said. If he gets more at-bats against the left-handers, he'll feel more comfortable with them. And this is a fastball. He tried to get it in. He doesn't get it in as far as he wants, but he gets it in enough that Nilsson can't do anything with it. You see, he's upset. And is this Art Howe or Tony La Russa?
Art Howe walking La Russa's well-worn path to the mound with Billy Taylor, the tall right-hander, coming on to face Seitzer. Jaha on deck. We'll be back.
Davis back with you. White Sox getting beat up. They're down 9-1 in the 8th. But and the bases juice. Harold Baines against Ed Fosberg, and I don't think Ed wanted to put that pitch there. Grand slam for Baines, 12th of his career. Fosberg got out of the inning, still 9-5 Rangers. Back to John and Joe.
Man, 12 grand slams. That's a lot of grand slams.
Yes.
Well, back here, Oakland still ahead 4-1, and there's Bill Taylor. 34-year-old right-hander, a guy who spent 14 years in the minor leagues before he got his first shot in the big leagues with Oakland 2 years ago. And you see that big brace he's wearing on his left knee right there. He hurt it in his first season in the big leagues. And then last year he returned from that knee injury and re-injured it during spring training and missed all of last year as they discovered that he had torn the anterior cruciate ligament. Now, as well as the medial collateral ligament. But he's back this year. He leads Oakland with 12 saves. And this guy, Joe, looks tough on right-handers. Then he's 6 feet 8 inches tall. Comes in from the side.
And when he drops down, it's very difficult to pick the ball up quickly enough.
Here's Cirillo at first base. 1 out. Seitzer the hitter. Now, if Seitzer can get on, then the Brewers' home run leader, Jaha, would come up as the possible tying run. Seitzer 0 for 3. Blew it past him.
Good fastball. And the reason I say that it's tough to pick the ball up when a pitcher drops down, you're used to seeing the ball come 3/4, so you look in that spot. And when it doesn't come from that spot, it causes you to pick the ball up late. And that's why you see a lot of hitters bail when a guy drops down to the side. Not because they're afraid, but because they don't pick up the ball quickly enough.
Just did manage to get a piece of that one to foul it off. This guy got very long legs, long arms. Bill Taylor of the Atlanta Braves organization.
And here's a look at it. See, if most pitchers come up 3/4 over the top, so you're looking in that spot for the ball. And when it doesn't come from there and you pick it up a little later, you have a tendency to leave there. And you can see Seitzer's been hit several times.
Got that special cover in there. He's been beaten a couple of times very seriously.
Right.
2-2 to Kevin Seitzer. Not an easy out. He's hitting .327 for the year. And he makes it through, base hit. It looked like the second baseman, Bornegal, thought he was going to hit the ball more to the right side. His first move, Joe, a little bit toward first base before he came back to his right.
Well, with a double play situation, in effect, as it was in this situation, you really shouldn't be playing that far towards right field, or you should play deeper and make sure of one. And this is Seitzer. I mean, Seitzer's just a good hitter. He puts the bat on the ball and he finds a hole over there. In fact, I mean, they were playing him like he was a left-handed pull hitter. I mean, if the ground ball is shortstop, they were not going to be able to get a double play on that ball.
I thought the game was over when he hit it.
Yes.
He hit the ball. I thought, well, here's a double play ball. But then where was Bornegal? Well, now Jaha, with 23 homers, is the possible tying run. And a slider, man, it was right through the middle there, wasn't it? Looked like a pitch to hit.
But again, he's been watching tailgating, and the ball's coming from the top. And now all of a sudden this guy drops down and you do not pick it up. So it's very smart to take the first pitch just to see where he's throwing from.
The slider hit softly. Bornegal now has to go to his left. He'll get just the one. Coming in to score is Cirillo. Seitzer moves up, and it is 4-2 for Oakland. And that will leave it to a pinch hitter. They had Mark Newfield due up, but he has gone back to the dugout, and Jose Valentin, who's their regular shortstop and who's been a very big run producer for them this year. And there he is, Jose Valentin. Had some shoulder problems. Got hit in the finger yesterday with a pitch. And he's got 16 homers and 68 runs batted in. And Joe, 15 of his homers as a left-handed batter. He's a switch hitter. 15 homers left-handed in only 285 at-bats. So this guy's got some pop. The only shortstops in the American League who have out-hit this guy for run production: Alex Rodriguez, the sensation from Seattle, and Cal Ripken. And Cal hasn't out-hit him by that much. Here's a look at the run production from the top hitting shortstops in the American League. And I think a lot of people might be surprised to see Valentin's name on that list. Expecting maybe to see Valentin out of Boston.
Yeah, that's who you would expect, Valentin.
Valentin has had a breakthrough year. That's a high foul. Now, there's more foul territory here in this ballpark than any other ballpark, but even that one makes it back in amongst the spectators. And there are not many. 10,281, the paid crowd in Oakland, and that's not far below average. They have been the worst drawing team in the league.
And they've, put an exciting team on the field, so a lot of people are just starting to catch on. They've had a few good crowds lately, but people are still trying to identify with this young Oakland ball club.
Valentin has always been better as a lefty throughout his career. Sinker from Taylor misses. 1 ball, 1 strike. Runner at second. That is Seitzer. 2 down. This is the last gasp for the Brewers. 4-2 Oakland in the 9th. Valentin batting for Newfield. Slider on the outside misses. Now Loretta, a right-handed hitter, is due up next, and he is out on deck. They have one other left-handed hitter they could go to if the game keeps going. Mark Hulse, or David Hulse. I was thinking of the voice of the Texas Rangers there for a moment. He chased one there.
Yeah, it was a good pitch from Taylor. The ball started towards the outside part of the plate and then ran away. And you can see that he's definitely trying to stay away from Valentin.
Valentin is the possible tying run. Seitzer ready to go on anything with 2 down. And a pop foul that will come back and out of play into the second deck. Bill Garner, you've seen his ball club come in here and win 2 in a row. Garner's ball club, not supposed to be much of a club this year. They're just 2 games below 500. And like Oakland, they have been in that wild card race. 2-2 the count. Oakland has lost 6 out of its last 7. They're ahead 4-2 in the 9th inning with 2 down. A runner at second. 2-2 to Valentin. Caught by Bordick. The ball game is over.
Well, we talked about how good the Oakland A's were defensively, and we've seen some great plays today. And Art Howe's a guy that concentrates on defense. This is the line drive, and look how high Bordick goes and gets it. Just perfect timing. Comes down with the ball, and the A's have broken that losing streak.
And we saw that from the beginning, Joe, and right up to the very end. Oakland and the strong defense, and that may have been the difference in this ball game. They made several outstanding plays. Next Sunday, we'll see you in Atlanta. Dante Bichette, Ellis Burks, Andres Galarraga, the Rockies, Chipper Jones, Fred McGriff, the Atlanta Braves, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, 6 in Denver. Coming up next, Sports Center. Now stay tuned for that. Oakland has won this ball game. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports television. John Miller for Joe Morgan from Oakland. Good